And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Josh Thompson, Big John McCarthy, and our trusty little sidekick, okay, the little fence dweller, podcast Dave. Did you see one of the guys that we know? Gian. He made. Remember Gian, the one that did that. He made the little fence character. It was pretty funny. I had to put it on my IG. It was great, man.
I'm gonna start putting the little Kilroy with fucking podcast Dave across.
That's fucking awesome. I think we should make a shirt out of that. I think you should have Gian. I think you know what I think though. I think you should have Gian work on things like that because he's really good. He comes up, he listens to the whole show and he picks apart little things and he puts together. He does a lot more than Dave does. I mean, just realistically. I mean, but anyways, hey, did you hear I was getting a ton of flack because people think that I give him such a hard time, and I'm like, you don't get it. I've had to deal with it for 5 years.
How the fuck do you think I feel?
You're so mean to him, Josh. My God, it's horrible.
Oh,
like, brutal. Hey, this is the way guys talk to each other.
I know it is. Yep. When people talk about locker room talk, this is what they talk. And there's a lot more.
God, they have no idea.
It gets worse, but hey,
if I'm not brutalizing you, it means I don't like you.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
Hey,
yeah.
I'll be very
you have fun with your guys.
Yeah, if I'm not brutal, if I'm not picking on you and giving you a hard time, it means I have no interest in being your friend, or don't. Or I actually
so
hate
it's like,
you.
man.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I won't be mean to you, but
Yeah. It's that tough love. It's that tough love feeling.
You know what? It's part of guys growing up in locker rooms around other guys. You got to find things to keep yourself entertained. When you're traveling on a bus to a game and everything, it's okay. You're quiet. But afterwards, time to brutalize somebody.
Yeah,
it's just the way we are.
Okay, so there's a couple things. Let's talk about your Twitter. Let's get right. Let's talk about your Twitter because we were having a great conversation about. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it.
I love the fact I put out a picture of Scott Coker, and it's the best part is I got flack for the picture that I put out, which was a current picture out on the media, right? So why would you put that picture of him out? It's like it's a picture of him. It's like, do you think that I took a lot of time in, let me pick the best picture here, and so it's that, but then it's the way people read into things that cracks me up.
Yeah.
Because, they obviously don't know me. All right. And if I am of the ilk that I think you have done something wrong or I don't like you, I am the person that will bluntly come out and say, hey, you fucked up. You're an idiot. Okay, that's just the way I am. I don't throw shade. I don't do end arounds. I don't do it. And so the big thing was,
you're nothing like me then, because I throw shade. I do end arounds. I do all that stuff, you guys.
No, man, I'm just straight out forward. I'll tell you, I think you're a freaking idiot.
Yeah.
And so I put out the thing on Scott in the fact that here's a guy that made the hard decision. He's going to lose a lot of money for his company by making this decision. And he goes and he makes that decision, pays the fighters all their money, pays the employees their money. And you know what? That's what a real leader does. A real leader steps up and says, you know what? This is what's important for you, your families, your health and safety. And so I put it out there, hey, this is what a real leader looks like. And all I got was stuff on Dana White. Okay, I want everyone to know. Dana does not reside in my head. I don't think about Dana ever.
Yeah.
Unless you and I are talking about him, then okay, but I don't care what Dana does and everything. And this had nothing to do with Dana or the UFC deciding to try to put on their show in Brazil. I went on another radio show and said, hey, I look at it two ways. One, hey, it's really nice that they're putting out stuff for us to watch because there's no sports. And so that's a great thing that we get to watch sports, and the UFC is trying to continue on with this as long as it's safe for their fighters and the employees there. I think it's great. I said, but the other side is, and you got to look at it, and it's like, man, somewhere along the way, I know this is going to end up biting them in the butt, and I don't want it to bite them in the butt. No. I don't want that to happen at all because I care about the sport. I care about them as a promotion. I like a ton of people there.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, I always look at things in a liability form because that's where my background came from. And I had to work against lawyers all the time. And, just knowing that a plaintiff's lawyer, someone along the way, if they get sick, they're going to end up saying, well, they made me work. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to pull someone like Dana in and go, Mr. White, did you not hear the president put the country in a state of emergency? I have to say, yes, I know that. And then it's going to be, well, did you know that the Major League Baseball and the National Basketball Association and NHL hockey, they all suspended theirs. And you know that around the world, soccer suspended theirs because they were worried about people's health.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to say yes to all of them. And that's just going to lead him down a road. He's going to lose when he shouldn't lose. This is not, something that should ever come about, but it will in some way. And so I'm looking at it going, if I wanted to say that I thought Dana was being an idiot or doing something wrong, I would say it.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. All I said is this is what a real leader looks like, being Scott Coker, because he made the hard choice and he made it on his own. He did what was right. He handled it beautifully, and you got to commend the man for being the leader that he is. And that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You're completely different than me because I wasn't trying to throw shade, but it just came across that way. I did exactly what you did. I just said, people, you got to put the safety before profit, for the athletes. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands it's not a shade thing at this point. Like, we want the fighters to make money. For me, I come from a fighter background of I want these guys to make money. Scott did the right thing. He paid all the athletes that were there, made weight, and were ready to fight. So he paid all those guys. He paid us. We really just did a production meeting. We did fighter meetings, and we got paid for that. These are things we got paid. All the crew that worked on the event, getting it set up, trying to get it set up. They weren't able to get it finished set up because they had put a halt to all the working operations. They all got paid. Everyone from the production team, everyone that works for Bellator, all the people that come to these events. Like we said, there's 200 to 250, maybe even more. I would say more. Okay, at each event, they all got paid. So everyone got paid. Now, that whether you guys take a look, whether people think we're throwing shade, that's not throwing shade. That's speaking of what our promotion did. Okay.
Fact.
Now this is where I will get into throwing shade right now. I talked to the athletes, a couple of them. Remember, I said the ones that reached out to me about London. I asked them, I said, hey, because they asked me what if the fighters got paid, because they wanted to know whether they should ask to get paid or whether they should ask to get paid their full purse, their just their show money. None of those fighters have been paid. Not yet.
Yep.
I'm not going to mention names, but the only two of them, there's three that I talked to. Two of them have got back to me and said, no, I haven't got paid. They think they're trying to push the event as soon as possible to get them to fight. What happens if this goes 4 weeks? Those fighters went through a full camp. The week of the fight means that you spent all the money on your camp. Nutrition, nutritionist, like whatever it is, supplements, whatever it is that you do.
Bringing in sparring partners, all kinds of things.
Exactly. Some of these, like Leah McCourt, she drives 3 hours back and forth to train.
Oh, I know. She's crazy. I love that
she's
girl.
Nuts.
Man, I give her such credit, all because of her daughter. 2.5 hours each way.
And that's the thing.
5 hours on the road.
Fighters do this. A lot of fighters do this, and they never talk about it, or they don't get an opportunity to talk about it until they're the main event or the co-main event or anything along those lines. We, as fans, people don't hear these type of stories unless you're the main event or the co-main event. And so I'm literally not trying to throw shade. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just simply saying, like, these fighters have not been paid yet. And it's the week of the fight. They were done training. Injuries, the likeliness of an injury happening was very, very slim. Sure it happens, but it's very, very slim. They've done their work. They've done everything they can possibly do except make weight. And that's the sad part. And so when we went back to the Bellator situation, we were talking about Scott Coker. We're talking about the fact that it was really a tough decision for him to make. Because I do know the day before, it was talk of the casino was pushing for, hey, we want this show to happen.
Yep.
We want it to go on, and we want to see, we're not under the government rules or the state legislation for us to stop. We're on, like you said, sovereign land. We're on sovereign land. We can do this if we want. And they wanted to do it. Scott put a stop to it the morning of, when things came out that it was getting worse and there was potential of someone not feeling well that was working in the arena. And he said, absolutely not. Now we're jeopardizing the health of our fighters. Let's just call it good. That all happened. Now, the other thing is MMA Fighting or BJPenn.com. One of them just came out and said, because we had thought like, oh, this was even on the production side. It's a good time to be on TV. Our viewerships will be through the roof. UFC Brasilia was the worst rated show they've ever had.
Really?
Is what it just came out. It was MMA Fighting or BJ Penn. Said right now, it said, I was just reading that on Twitter. It said it was the worst rating show that they had. You would think it would be the other way. We were talking. We thought it would be the biggest ratings ever because
I thought it would be big because there's nothing else.
There was nothing else
the sports world to watch that's live.
Yeah. Yep.
I watched it.
Right on the way over here. I don't know if it was MMA Fighting or BJ Penn, but one of them had posted on Twitter the article saying that it was rated as the worst
lowest number in UFC ESPN.
Worst number on UFC ESPN. You would have thought the other way, but I gotta tell you, like even some of the things that I've been watching, like on viewerships, as far as like other people's shows, other people's podcasts, the viewerships are a little bit low as well. You would think people would be sitting at home watching podcasts or I think
because it's just happened. Though.
It's just happening. Everyone's trying to adjust. I got to tell you, there's a lot of things going on right now. Like with my gyms, there's a lot of things. My focus is not on clicking into I love to watch Joe Rogan's show, and not to clicking into Joe's show. Right now I'm trying to get all my stuff, making sure all my clients, from the gym, their memberships are on hold, making sure that no one's being charged, making sure the place is all locked up, everything's fully, and everything was clean. I spent on Sunday almost 9 hours cleaning the whole gym from top to bottom, everything, scrubbing it, from top to bottom. And then Monday
that's surprising you could actually get some Lysol or anything because of the way people have been acting.
Yeah. No, believe it or not, it's the cleaning section that's actually fully loaded. It's the fucking toilet paper and the water that are gone. Don't you guys have filtered things on your fucking refrigerators? What is going on, you guys? Like, get your own water. You guys don't wipe your asses? What's going on?
I do. Someone, I saw crazy. They have that. Someone has his dog doing the butt scoot across the lawn, and he actually did instructions on how to properly do it now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, here, when there was a bunch of criticism thrown down. Now you end up where the fact is, like, we thought, and we were part of that thought the ratings would be through the roof. And the fact that they weren't, you're looking at it and going like, this was all for nothing. Like, why take a chance? You know what I mean? Like, if it
completely for nothing, at least those fighters were able to get paid for, doing their job, going there, all the travel and everything, because a lot of those fighters came from other places. So nice that they got paid, and so at least they have a buffer that can help them make it through into their next fight. Where the guys that are from, the London show, man, that show, the Portland show, these are guys that, like you're saying, they've been in camp, they've spent money. You got to spend money to make money. We always talk about that, and you do that with a camp. And I would hope that the UFC compensates these people accordingly, because they were doing their part. And it's not their fault that, this has come about and that they weren't able to go out and fight. So hopefully, the UFC follows suit with what Scott did and does the same thing.
Yeah. We've had a similar instance, like I had talked about on the last show with Strikeforce. Their last show was supposed to happen. I was supposed to fight this guy named Carlos Fodor, and the fight got canceled. And we were a week before the fight. I had just got done with my last sparring session. It was on a Friday. It was 1 week away. And they didn't pay me my show money, and they didn't pay me my win money. They paid me. They sent me a check for $10,000, and I was very appreciative. I appreciated it a lot because I can't say I spent 10 grand for the camp, but I spent quite a bit of money for the camp because I had brought in some training partners at the time. Because at the time, I want to say Gray wasn't in camp. Tyson Griffin was helping me with my camp. Khabib wasn't there, so I didn't have a whole lot of guys at the time, and I was kind of just using Rockhold. It was Luke Rockhold, and it was yeah.
That's bad. When you're a 155-pound guy having to use 185, actually 200 some pound guy, since he's not cutting down. That's not always good for you either. When
I fought Benson, he was my main training partner because there was no one else in the gym because it was during Christmas time. Nobody came to the gym. Everybody it was just me and Rockhold. Rockhold ended up winning the title, and he was getting ready for Weidman. That's when he won the title. Best thing that could have happened to him, just use me for training. No, he had another guy named Dwight Grant. Dwight Grant, Dwight.
I know Dwight.
Body snatcher. They call him the body snatcher.
Body snatcher.
Where's he been? Guy. He fought Jubon and beat him, right? And then
Alan Jubain hasn't fought since, I don't think.
gosh, man, he's good, man. I mean, like we used to give everyone fits. I mean, Luke was able to, take care of business against him, but he's also smaller than Luke. Yeah. But I mean, it was, he's tough. He's tough as nails, man, that kid.
Oh, he's good.
He's got heavy hands. He's got big dogs. I've seen him fight a couple of fights in some smaller shows here before he got to the UFC, and fuck, man, he was knocking dudes out. I was like, because when I train with him, I'm like, he doesn't look the part. He doesn't look, I mean, he looks the part, but he doesn't. When he starts fighting, you're like, you're kind of sloppy. You're kind of this. But man, when he touches you, it's over.
It makes you take 3 steps backwards instead of 1.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's a super nice guy.
There was a guy that he reminds me of. He was a different weight class, one up. His name was Drew McFedries.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Drew McFedries. You want to talk about having TNT in your fist?
Yep.
That dude could swat.
So good.
He just had heavy hands, and man, anytime he touched somebody, even if you watched him in sparring and touched him, you watch that guy go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And he was that kind of guy that's like, he's not very good anyway, and don't let him touch you. As soon as he touches you, he's a completely different fighter, and so are you. So
yeah, he was the guy. I don't know how old he was, but he always looked like he was older because he had no hair. He had like the receding hairline, correct?
Yep.
I want to say like he was like in his early 30s, but his hairline looked like he was like LeBron James in his 50s and stuff.
Oh, dude, it was a Shaquille O'Neal hairline. Man. It was really bad.
So funny. What else was there to talk about? I sent you over a list.
Well, we had, the whole thing is everyone needs to like calm down, man. Calm down. People are not always trying to tear down. I get this whole thing about, you and Josh, you're always tearing the UFC down. No, I think you should listen that most of the time I'm building them up. Yeah. Now, if I think they do something wrong, I'll say, I don't like that. I think that's wrong. But most of my stuff is very complimentary to the UFC because I like the UFC. Yeah. And like I said, I got a lot of friends that are over in the UFC. People working very hard to make that promotion work well. Yeah. So I would never do anything to harm them or burn them down unless there's something that you go, they should not have done that. You know? And that's just called being truthful. Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way you do. Look, I can like Dana White and just not like who he is as a person. That's the thing. I can like what he does for the sport. I think he's done a great job for the sport. What he does for that promotion. For that promotion, yeah. So I do like what he's done. And the other thing too is, look, people need to remember, he's the one that, I've said this before, he's the one that went out on a limb for me and pulled me into the UFC. Joe Silva didn't want to. So when I went to the UFC the first time, Joe Silva said, no, he's not ready. And Dana's like, fucking hell. Here I go. I'm going to get in trouble. I knew that Dana was stupid and Joe was smart. Wow. Thank you. I'm kidding. So Dana's the reason why I was able to get into the UFC. I don't have any ill will towards him at all. We've had some banter back and forth. There's a lot of inside stuff between him and I that we're just trying to figure, and there's a lot of inside stuff that nobody knows. And hey, sometimes those things have an effect on your opinion about things, and that's life. Yes, exactly. But as him being the leader of the UFC, I think he's done a great job. I think he's done a great job of building the sport into being worldwide. I tip my hat to him on a lot of things. I'll tip my hat to Joe Silva on a lot of things. I've had yelling matches with Joe Silva in person and on the phone. But guess what? I have a ton of respect for that guy. A ton of respect. But that situation, the list is very long and very distinguished because everyone's had a yell. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, so like look at those guys. Sean Shelby, it was his promotion that I fought on, him and his ex-wife. It was his promotion that I fought on that got me into the UFC. So I have no ill will, like you said, like any ill will towards people that work for that company at all. It was a good place for me when I was younger, and I made more money as I went everywhere else I went along the road. Like that's why I continue. Like I speak from experience when it comes from the UFC to Pride to Strikeforce to back to the UFC, now to Bellator. Like the free market agency, the free market is, you wouldn't believe how much money you guys can make if you guys test it out, just periodically. Now I'm saying every time you get your contracts up, if you like where you're headed and what you're doing, stay with where you're doing. Stay with what you're doing. But if you see yourself not being built and promoted in certain situations, then I would say check the free market agency, because there's a pretty good market for you on the outside. Doesn't mean that you have to have ill will towards the UFC. I never had ill will when they cut the division in 2003, 2004, and I went to Pride. Just so people know, I made almost triple my money in Pride
For the 2 fights I had there, I made almost triple what I was making in the UFC, and I was the #1 guy in the world at the time until I lost to Yves Edwards. So that's what people don't get. Like, I made almost triple what I made, and it was all flat fee. No show, no win. It was a flat fee of almost triple the money. I was like, hello. Yep. You know,
I think I like this.
You got to deal with the Japanese up and down. Like, you're fighting, you're not fighting, you know, and next thing you know, you're fighting.
Oh, you're going to fight him. Maybe him.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to him.
But at the time, though, I was one of those knuckleheads. It was like, oh, my fight's off. Okay, let's go party and drink. But if you're a true professional, unlike me at the time, okay, then you would just stay continuously training the whole time, and you're always ready. You know, Dan Henderson will tell you stories about his similar situations. Like, you're fighting, no, you're not fighting, you're fighting, and then all of a sudden you're fighting. You know, a lot of guys would, you know, like Kevin Reynolds had told me.
It was a common occurrence.
Yeah.
It was something that you had to get used to. And if you're going to fight in Japan, it was like, hey, don't expect them. They're going to be up front. They're going to be as honorable as they can be. And behind it, they're going to sit there and screw with you as much as they can so their guy wins. Exactly. That's just the way it is.
Exactly. And then Strikeforce, you know, paid very well at the time. And then UFC even paid me more after I went back to the UFC. You know, they doubled down on my contract and they paid me very well. Like I said, I don't have any ill will towards them, but if you guys are going to criticize me or get on me, I will always take the side of the fighter. Now, there will be times where I'll pat the promotion on the back. But for me, with my history and seeing what some of these athletes have gone through, I'm going to almost always take the side of the fighter. Always. That's just me and who I am. And I believe in these, and I know what these guys have went through and the history that I've been through to get where these guys are now and these girls are now. No, I'm going to pretty much lean towards the fighter almost every single time.
I can tell you this, and this is for everyone out there. So, you know, Dana called me one time and he was mad at me, which, how rare.
Yeah.
You know, but and he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is why." And he goes, "John, you stop. It's okay that they say those things. I don't care. I want them to side with the fighter. I want them to think that the fighter needs more. I want to let it go. Just let it go. They can hate us. That's okay. It's good when they hate us."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, I got it." So.
It goes the old additive that has good press is any press is good press. It's just how it goes, right? If your name is being spoken there, unless you hit like those Harvey Weinstein type things, then you're fucked.
Yeah, or if you're that guy, there's some guy from Tennessee, and him and his brother went around and bought all the Purell and everything up. His name in the media right now is not good.
No, not good. Definitely not good. Is it you're in Tennessee? Because you live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Somebody he ran around and bought all the shit, huh?
He went to all the fucking surrounding states. Went to Kentucky, went down to Georgia, went over to Virginia, buying everything. Had like $20-some thousand worth of Purell.
If you guys just heard that was Dave yawning into the microphone. Yes. No, I can hear you through my earpiece. Yes. How much?
Nice.
Let's bet on that. What time is it right now? How much time are we into? How much time are we on the camera?
24 minutes.
Okay, 24 minutes. So at the 24 minute mark, you guys, I want you guys to listen for a yawn in the middle of that. Post in the comments how unprofessional that is by Dave. Very nicely done. He turned. He turned to the Dave, to the microphone and yawned.
Dave, go back 2 shows ago and watch him almost falling asleep in the chair there.
Yes, I know.
You know what I love?
Slouching.
I love it. People tag in the comments like time frames of when something funny happens, and there's been so many good. There's been so many good videos.
That's good.
That's how I'm getting all these funny clips.
Okay, so because he's gonna do a bloopers or like a funny
that's good.
Kind of. That's gonna be good. Hey, what else was there that we were talking about?
So you guys are talking about free agency. Michael Chandler. There's just an article that came out on Michael Chandler doing an interview with ESPN saying that he's gonna test free agency as soon as this fight with Henderson happens.
Good.
Yeah. All right.
He's saying he might want to go to one and finish the trilogy with Eddie Alvarez, or he might want to go fight Gaethje or Poirier in UFC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, John, I want to just point this out. You got me on these things.
Very nice, baby.
You got me on this one here. Because I had some other ones and they were way too sweet. These are pretty good. No, they also just came. Phenomenal. They also just came out with I want to say it's a green tea one with a dragon on it. That one's pretty good as well. I like a lot. I drink.
Is that the one called Rain?
I don't know what it's called. It's in a black. I want to say it's in a
black can.
Yeah, it's a black can with the green dragon, but it has like the white or blue. Is it white? But anyways, but it was really good, man. It was really good. So I like that one. This one. There was a couple other ones that were a little too sweet for my taste. But this one's good. You got me. I think you might have got me hooked, brother. You might have got me hooked.
It's all about him. You know, all you got to do is put a little immunity stuff in there.
Yeah.
You got to, monster immunity, man. It's all good.
That's what monster immunity. Okay, so since you just brought up the Chandler thing, let's get into it. We had been talking for a while now about doing this.
Trades.
Doing the
Who
trades.
Would you trade?
Doing the trades.
Who would you trade?
So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Chandler one because he brought up Chandler. So my trade, honestly, would be a 3-way trade. So
Three-way, okay.
Yeah, so because I want to bring in the 1FC scenario as well. Now, look, some of this will make sense, some of it won't. I mean, like, it really depends. I'm looking at it more from how it benefits. Hopefully, it benefits both promotions or whatever, however the trade's done.
I wasn't looking at it that way. I'm looking at it simply as who do I want to see fight who.
Oh, really? No. So
Yeah.
I look at it that way, but I looked at it in terms of like, I'm saying trades, not as in like, let's see these two guys fight.
Yeah, I know. You're trading them.
Yeah, I'm looking in. We're trading these fighters.
Yeah.
I really, since we were saying, I would like to do a 3-way trade. Chandler goes to the UFC. Gaethje goes to Gaethje.
I've got that. I
got Gaethje going to 1FC, and we take Eddie Alvarez. Because I'd like to have Eddie. I know everyone's talking about the Chandler and Eddie Alvarez, trilogy, whatever. But I think Gaethje has a style that would really mesh with 1FC. Those kickboxers over there, those stand-up guys over there, they would be great fights. And then we bring in Eddie because I'd like to see Eddie and Benson fight, and I'd like to see Adam Piccolotti and fight Eddie Alvarez. I'd like to see a lot of our 55-pounders try to get in that mix with someone like Eddie because Eddie's always on the feet. He's a good wrestler, sprawling brawler. He brings the action. With Chandler, but Eddie will do it for 5 rounds. Chandler tends to slow down a little bit, but I'd also like to see Chandler get over there to the UFC and see how he does. I mean, everyone's want to talk. I want to see how he does.
That was part of the reason that I had him in a trade also.
Yes.
But it was just a one-on-one. And my one-on-one, Chandler goes to the UFC and Dustin Poirier comes to Bellator. I would love to see Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Against some of the lightweights. And just like you said, I would love to see him against frickin' Benson Henderson. I think that would be a great fight. I'd like to see him against an Adam Piccolotti. I'd like to see him against the guys that are in there right now in the lightweight division. It would be some great stylistic matchups. It would be fun. But I had Chandler or Poirier. I didn't do the 3-way. Yeah,
I really kind of want to get Eddie back in there because I'd like to see Eddie back in there with Adam. I'd like to see a newer, like the more recent Patricky fight him. I'd like to see Patricio potentially fight him. Those two guys would be great. Patricio and Eddie. That would be a great fight to see. Given that Patricio just beat Chandler, I'd like to see Eddie and him fight. That would I just think it would be a nice little mix up to have Eddie back. And I'm a big Eddie fan. So that's me. I think me being a little bit of a homer. I'm an Eddie fan. Chandler going and seeing what he can do over in the UFC, and Gaethje with the fighting style of just action-packed fights with the stand-up guys and Muay Thai guys that are all over in one. I think a 3-way trade would be just fucking awesome. It'd be awesome to see. So, like I said, I was trying to work in. I really want to get DJ involved, but really, we don't have a 125-pound division.
Yeah, but you could put him in the 135.
Yes, we could. I think he'd do. I think at 135, he'd be wonderful. I see guys like Patchy Mix who's so big, and if you put him next to DJ, you're like, ooh, God, that's a little scary. Like he's big. You know what I mean? Like, yes. So. Yep. It wouldn't be fair to ask him to go to 35, but I'm sure he would. But it's just like he's already successful at 1. He's been successful at the UFC, and I think he's making a ton of money with doing what he's doing right now over there. All right, so I brought up who I wanted to see that 3-way trade with Chandler and Gaethje and Eddie Alvarez, and then why don't you lead the next one?
My next one is it's one that I feel like I'm giving up so much, and it bothers me to do it. But you gotta give something to get something. And the reason I'm giving this guy up is I want to see him fight some of the people in the UFC, some of those people that he's had a lifelong dream of fighting. I'd give up the champion. I'd give up Patricio Pitbull. I'd give him the opportunity to prove to people how good he really is. He's always wanted to fight Jose Aldo. Here's an opportunity. If you go there, you get to fight Jose Aldo. I think stylistically, him matching up with Volkanovski would be just phenomenal. Would be a great fight. So that I would love to see both as far as him getting the opportunity to show people how good he really is and matching up with some of the people that he's always had this dream of being able to fight against. But in return, you give me Max Holloway.
Ooh.
Now, I get Max Holloway because Bellator does a show in Hawaii every year now.
Yeah.
And I would love for Max to be on a big show, same as Alimale, in his home state, being able to be in front of his people. I think it would be awesome. And I just love the person that Max is. I love the way he fights, everything about him in that 145-pound division. It would open some certain things up. He would have a ton of killers that he would have to go through. And I think he would enjoy going against every one of them. So that would be a trade. If I was going to make a trade, I'm giving up a champion. I'm taking an ex-champion. But I think for both guys, it would be good, and it would be definitely good for me to be able to watch some of those fights.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think Max is exactly like kind of what Scott would be looking for, someone who brings the action, but also carries himself in a very professional manner. Love having him. I would love to have him over, you know, but I'm a little hesitant because I love Patricio so much.
I know. You can't. Look,
you can't. I know.
I can sit there and say, okay, I'm going to give you this number 20 ranked fighter to take this guy. You can't do it. You got to be honest and say, well, what would someone actually possibly do?
Yep.
Saying, okay, you know what? It could work out for me. I can see it.
Yep. No, I agree. All the trades that I came up with in my mind that I was coming up with, I had to contemplate like what would be the best for both promotions. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't like all just one-sided for us, you know, or for Bellator or for one or for, you know, I wanted to make sure that what we did was we got a little bit of a mix of talent, and it should be as even as possible. And to hear me out, and when I say why I wanted to do that, that was the other thing as well, you know, and I actually kind of even favor sometimes the UFC over some of them. For me, my next trade would be, I would like to trade Dylan Dennis to the UFC.
Okay.
The only reason why I say
why would they want him? Tell me that.
Not only is he with the whole Conor McGregor thing, but their whole 70-pound division, a lot of them are good wrestlers. Okay, but they don't have the best stand-up. Don't get me wrong, they're good. Like, you know, Usman just proved his stand-up's not bad. It's pretty damn good. But if you put him with Leon Edwards, not the same stand-up, okay? Different levels of stand-up. Definitely different levels of stand-up. But the wrestling is there. You're making those wrestlers now have to possibly fight a stand-up fight. We give you guys Dylan Dennis, okay? And we get back either Lawler or Nick Diaz. Because we have a lot of guys.
Wow, you're giving up youth.
Yes.
For two old guys.
Yes, I am. You want to know why?
I love both old guys. But
no,
they're both old.
I love both old guys, but I also think in terms of fighting styles and what we have.
I got a trade that's similar to that. So go ahead.
What we have is we've got Lawler or we've got Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is just Nick Diaz. I don't got to say anything else. And the same thing with Lawler. Marketability. He's never needed to have the talking because his fucking fist always did all the talking for him. He's an exciting fighter, has always been an exciting fighter. Win and lose, he's always been exciting. But I like how he fits into our 170-pound division. Lorenz Larkin, Douglas Lima, you know, I mean, Korshkov, you got those guys that are in, like we've got Paul Daly. He fits perfectly into those. Both of them do. Whether it's Lawler or Nick Diaz, he fits perfectly into that mix. I'd love to see Daly and Nick Diaz rematch. I would love to see Nick Diaz and, Nick Diaz and Douglas Lima. I would love to see those fights. So I understand.
Or Robbie Lawler and Lorenz Larkin rematch.
Exactly. I would love to see that as well. There's fights that I'm giving up the youth and the potential of Dylan Dennis. But you know what though? I'm looking right now in that division of who we have. I need somebody right now. Because Douglas Lima's sitting on the bench going, okay, I'm gonna go to 85 because I've already beat the whole division. Well, let me give you somebody else. Let me give you a Nick Diaz with a lot of name. Let me give you a Robbie Lawler with a lot of name, but just someone who can stand with you and trade with you and is going to bring the fight. That to me, I'm thinking about right now, what fight do I want to see the most, but also two favors long-term for the UFC and also is going to give those guys fits on the ground against, they don't have a guy that's that good at 170 that can give those guys, Colby Covington, Usman, and whoever else is in that division. They're going to give those guys fits at 170. That to me is a great trade for me in my mind. That's what I was thinking of.
It's an interesting one, and I have one that's similar that I was thinking the same thing in the heavyweight division.
Ooh, I didn't even get to the heavyweight division. Let me hear this.
Yeah, I'm looking at heavyweights, and I go, all right, who would be the guy that, again, I kind of want to see fight over in the UFC, and it's kind of tough. So I got a 3-way. 3 guys going for 1 guy.
Ooh.
It's Bellator to UFC, I know, but I'm going to give up Fedor Emelianenko.
Okay.
Because I would just like to see Fedor get that fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm going to give up his teammate and a very young and good prospect, and this is where you're getting everything back. I'm going to give up Valentin Moldavsky because he's good.
Yes,
he can beat a ton of guys over there right now. And,
yeah.
You know, I hurt in giving him up, but I'm going to give him up. And then the last guy I'm going to give up is I'm going to give up Sergei Kharitonov.
Okay.
Only because I would like to see Kharitonov also fight over there in the UFC.
Yeah.
He would do well with a bunch of guys. There's some guys that could give him problems. But in return, you're going to give me Francis Ngannou.
Ooh.
I got to have him. He's the one guy that you look in. I'm not saying that they don't have guys that are better. They do. But he's the one guy that can beat any of them. On the given night, that dude can touch anybody on the chin.
Yep.
And you're going to go to sleep. And so he's a guy I got to have because just no matter what, normally, generally, usually, except when he fights Derek Lewis, there's an excitement about him fighting.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see that with Moldavsky, you're getting someone that is fantastic.
Yes, he is.
Only going to get better. With Fedor, you're getting the guy that, you know what? Everyone would have liked to have seen him fight at a certain point in the UFC. And same thing with Kharitonov to a point. And then you're giving up something good, but I kind of looked at it and said, you know, that it gives something for everybody and everything. So that was one of my trades.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's a lot to give up. I was trying to figure out a way to get. I was looking at Ngannou as well. I was just trying to figure out a way to do it without trading away too many of our assets. That's all. That's the only thing that I was trying to work in there. I was like, okay, who do we give up and who do we? Yeah, just like in our heavyweight division, we have like a top like 3 or 4 guys, but then we don't have a big roster like the UFC. So if we give away too many guys. Now, okay, then who's Ngannou going to fight? So that's kind of where I was at with that whole scenario and that situation. I was like, you know, so that was why. Yes, I want to see the Minakov fight. Yep, I do want to see the Minakov fight, and I want to see Tyrell Fortune use his wrestling.
I was giving up 3 Russians. I wasn't going to give up a 4th.
Let me see who my next one is. Okay, so maybe I'll take a little bit of a hit on the chin, but they're both extremely, Kerry's not that young. I would give Kerry Melendez to the UFC to go to 115, and I would take Alexa Grasso. Because we already have her teammate.
You have got this thing about Alexa Grasso.
I do.
What is it?
Here's the one thing, and it's not even so much that she is young. She's extremely marketable. We have her teammate as well. And then on top of it, if there is a chance, which I think there is, that we may start moving into Mexico, then I'd like to have the 2 of them together to help market it to get it there. With Kerry, I think Kerry, she's a 115 pounder. I don't think she at 125 is, you know, and we don't offer that weight class. So I think 115 for her off to there. You get a name plus
she's got a full weight class to fight with.
She's got a full weight class to fight. And I'm only looking at for both sides. You're adding a kickboxer to go with Rose against Rose Namajunas. You're adding you're adding a kickboxer to go, you know, with Weili Zhang. You're adding another stand-up person to go with, you know, certain people.
I don't know if I want to see Kerry fight Weili.
Yeah. She's nasty, man. Nasty.
Man, she's good.
But her and Joanna would be a good fight. You know, I mean, I would look for that fight. I mean, like her and Rose Namajunas would be a great fight. I'd love to see these. I don't know. For me, in my mind,
that's the way I'm looking at it.
That would be this be some good trades. I think that'd be a good trade for me. And then Alexa Grasso's coming over to us because now she's going to 125, so she's not fighting once because she hasn't made the weight in last 2 times. She missed weight last time. I think it's 2 times now.
Exactly. I think it is 2 times in a row.
So, so I'd like to see, since she's going to be at 125, I'd like to see her fight at 125, you know, with us. So, kind of makes sense.
That's a good one.
You know, I was trying to incorporate the females to get them involved as, you know, in from us as well, but we only have, you know, a couple weight classes. So
my next one, I've got a female coming over. So
okay. Let's hear it.
I was really looking at saying, okay, should I put this to the UFC or do I put it to Bellator? And I'll explain why I'm saying, okay, I'm going to bring Kayla Harrison from the PFL over to Bellator to fight against her weight class, which is normally 155. I need her to come down to 145. The real question is, can she? But there's actually a real division there for her if she can make that 145. I don't know if she can.
Yeah.
And if she can't, then, you know, obviously I don't want her to be cutting weight to a point that's unhealthy for her. So I look and say it'd be nice to see her fight Amanda also, but let's bring her over. She's got Chris, she's got Julia, she's got Leslie, she's got all these different girls. So I'm going to have to give up some good people here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a twofer. I've got Kayla Harrison and Lance Palmer.
Okay.
Coming over from the PFL. Lance is a dynamite featherweight fighter. Love the way he competes. Wrestler out of Ohio State. Just phenomenal, tough dude. So I've got them coming from the PFL, and they're both outstanding fighters. So I'm going to give up Arlene Blenko as one because if you look at stylistically how she fights, she's going to match up so well with the people that they have in the PFL, in the female division. She stands and bangs. And the real next person that they have is Sarah Kaufman, who is a great stand-up fighter. And I would love to see Sarah and Arlene fight. I think it would be fun. I think those two match up really well. So that would be fun. But I'm also going to have to give up some high-level guy, and I'm going to give up Juan Archuleta.
Ooh.
Along with Arlene Blenko. I'm probably going a little bit less on one, maybe a little bit more on the other. I don't know. But giving up Juan's a big give up, and I don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
But he would do very well in the PFL in that featherweight. It's a great weight for him. And in taking Lance, I got to give up something good, so I'm giving up Juan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because
I like Juan. I like the way he fights. I like everything about him, you know. And so I know I'm not really giving him up, so it makes me feel okay. I can say it.
Yeah. It's a good trade. I'd like to see Kayla Harrison come over and just get into a mix, either with Cyborg or with Amanda Nunes.
With Julia Budd.
I would like to see that.
There's so many, you know, that are there for her to be able to compete against. Yeah. It would be interesting.
Yeah, because you have Kat Zingano, who's another one. Yeah. You know, we've got more that are on the roster. You know, we can just start plucking away.
Jessie Meal, got a whole bunch of girls, a lot with black belts. We got Nogueira with a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's phenomenal on the ground. So Kayla, obviously, she's best at taking those fights to the ground, but there are people there that they can negate a lot of what she does and give her some problems based upon their backgrounds too. So she hasn't really faced that yet from what I've seen with the PFL.
Yeah, bottom line is, though, she needs to make 145.
I know, and that's the whole thing.
I mean, like...
Or you could say, hey, you know what, Chris, would you go to 155? Go to 155 and do the fight. Okay.
Well, why don't they meet in the middle, 150? Bellator's not afraid to do catch weights.
No, I'm all about it. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, so my next trade would be... I already brought up the Chandler one, correct?
You did.
Okay,
that's the first one.
Look, I'm gonna go back to the 170 because I'm a 170 jock rider, and it comes to the Bellator guys because of Douglas Lima and Paul Daly and and the guys that we have there. We had Rory McDonald, we don't have him anymore. I'm gonna have to do this, and I know I'm giving up the future again. I'm giving up the future. Amazov for Leon Edwards.
Damn, okay. I had Leon Edwards coming over because of his brother being with Bellator and Fabian being 185, and I think Leon is phenomenal.
Yes,
he's so good, so fun to watch, so skilled. It's a good trade, actually.
Thank you.
I gotta give you credit, dude.
How did that taste coming out of your mouth? Like vinegar?
It really fucking hurts me fucking giving up an undefeated fighter.
I know, but
23-0, and you want? I mean. That way the UFC has both of the undefeated fighters in this world. I go
back to the scenario of we got to set this up. He just fought Ed Ruth. He had a great fight, but it was predominantly like a wrestling match. And I got to say, I wouldn't say he out-wrestled him, but there was scrambles that caused an out-wrestle situation. If I'm looking in terms of he didn't out-wrestle him to the point where he always got on top, but he did out-wrestle him to the point where he got back to his feet and was never in any danger. And he got some takedowns, some beautiful takedowns against Ed Ruth. I would like to see him go and see how he does against guys like Usman, Colby Covington. Not to mention, to me, his stand-up is better than both those guys. So you put him right into that upper echelon of guys with the wrestling and his capability of his wrestling. I was like, good heavens. I'd like to see how he matches up in that whole scenario, in that situation. You give us Leon, that means you've got Leon Paul Daly. That means you got Leon versus Lima. You've got these guys that I know I would let Larkin, and then if we were able to get
Leon against MVP,
and if we were able, like I said, if we were able to get Nick Diaz or Lawler, then there we go again. There's more flavor into that 170-pound division. I'm just telling you, man. I'm all in. I've got one more 170-pound trade too to add to this. I'm gonna just throw it out there real quick.
Throw it.
Korshkov and Stephen Thompson. Now I've got Stephen Thompson.
How are you picking my guys?
Because great brains think alike, baby. Great brains think alike.
Damn, I had freaking Stephen Thompson coming over. I had somebody else going for him.
Who'd you have going?
I got it. Let's talk about one before I tell you who I have going.
Okay.
You got to admit, Stephen Thompson against MVP.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. It's like it's a fight that somewhere along the way it has to happen. It's got to be. And then this one was tough for me because I was in that position. I got to give up somebody really good. I don't have a choice, and I'm going to give up an undefeated fighter because I was struggling between, do I give up Ed Ruth?
Ooh.
Or do I give up Joey Davis?
Ooh.
Now, Joey Davis got that youth on his side. So does Ed Ruth, but Joey Davis undefeated. And so I'm going to give up the youth of Joey Davis. Was my pick to go for Stephen Thompson. I'm glad you're looking at things close to the same, man.
Yeah,
You're starting to actually use that thing on top of your shoulders. I'm very impressed.
I gave up Korshkov because Korshkov has done. I feel like
I can't do.
I can. I feel like he's done everything he can in here. He can't beat Douglas Lima. So what's the point of holding on to him?
No, stop. Okay, stop.
Well,
did you just say that?
What do you mean?
You just said he can't beat Douglas Lima. He has already beaten Douglas Lima.
Stop with that. He had a hurt knee when he fought.
It doesn't matter.
He hurt his
beat
knee.
him.
He did beat him, but I'm simply saying he was hurt. He came back and beat him twice. But no, I think like you're not going to see that fourth fight. That's the thing. And so what do we do? What are we doing with him?
You're limited.
Lima's the champ. I understand. Let's see where he does.
You actually might be smarter in your trade than mine.
Of course it is.
I'm giving up a lot.
Nah, of course my trade's better. Of course. Look, I'm putting him there for the simple reason that you're meshing him with more wrestlers. And if you can sprawl and brawl, plus his stand-up is phenomenal. I mean, he's got great. Look what he did to Benson Henderson. I know Benson's not a big 170-pounder, but you put him. Korshkov's a big 170-pounder like Usman. They're both extremely tall, both big. I'd like to see that fight. Colby Covington and him as well. You mix him in T. Wood, those guys, I think he fits right into that mix of guys, that you push him into. With Amosov, they've got a really good 170-pound.
Dude, it hurts that you gave up Amosov.
I know.
I'm serious. I'm physically ill right now.
I know. But I'm looking in terms
I'm glad I'm not.
I'm looking in terms of like if we mix these guys up and you make those guys, because Korshkov will make those wrestlers stand. Same thing with Amosov. He'll make those guys stand. So you put those guys over there, and now you're going to see better fights for them, and we're going to get the stand-up guys. They're going to give Lima more of a challenge on the feet and make him fight a full rounded fight, whether it's sprawling ball or whether it's takedowns. We're going to get action on both sides. I feel like that's the best results for both promotions. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Okay, unlike you. Okay, I'm trying to be as fair as possible. All right, I'm making the right trades around.
Being fair? I'm giving youth in Joey Davis for an old guy. Really, and Stephen Thompson, because I am a selfish bastard that wants to see this one fight.
See, I probably would have went. I would have liked your trade more if you'd have went with Ed Ruth and we kept Joey Davis. Yeah, only because Ed's hit the upper tier, get the wrestling and stuff like that. Joey's obviously still undefeated. I'd like to keep Joey and groom him a little bit more. Ed, with his 2 losses now, we could probably just say, hey, we loved having you. Go over there. Let's see how you do against the wrestlers. Because realistically, the stand-up is where those guys lack, and the wrestling is where they push, and their conditioning, they're strong. So you put Ed in there too. He mixes right into that mix right away. I think that makes for a great 170-pound division for the UFC and a great 170-pound division for Bellator. Depends on how you look at it, man. Those were my trades. I mean, I don't want to say my trades were better than yours, but I think that's kind of what's brewing around here. Dave's shaking his head like, yeah.
Hold on, Dave. All right. Now we come down to Dave. Let's be honest. Who had the better trades overall?
Big John.
We're putting you into position.
It doesn't matter.
Man.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It could be anybody. He would have said. He would have said it was them.
Exactly.
I'm an unbiased party here, and
unbiased my ass.
I did an analysis, a deep analysis of the fighters that you guys picked, and I have to say that Big John came out with the better picks.
That's my man.
You are
Dave.
such a liar, man. You're talking to a guy who just watches WWE. You're breaking my heart. You're cutting me deep, Shrek. You cut me real deep.
Deep here, Shrek.
Look, I tried to do a trade somehow with Amanda Nunes to get her to fight Cyborg. It just wasn't going to happen. I tried. I was thinking like, okay, do we give them Julia Budd and then we find another maybe Juliana Velasquez, push her over there as well for a 2-person trade, just so fans could see the rematch. Because I got fucking murdered on Twitter. Not really. People were saying I was right and people were saying I was wrong, but it was a 50-50. But they're out there ruthless right now because they got nothing to do because they're all at home quarantined. But they, I want to see that fight, but I want to see it in Bellator now. Let's see the second one.
Here's your problem with that fight.
Yeah.
Is people look and they say, I've already seen it. And I saw that Amanda ran through Cyborg. And they're right.
Yep.
In that matchup, she did.
Yeah.
Because Cyborg fought really emotionally involved and not what we call smart. And that's what happens when you allow that to happen. And it just, there's so many elements to it. Amanda is a incredible fighter. She's an incredible person. I love her as a person. She's a sweetheart. Man, her and Nina are awesome. I hear they're going to be parents coming
soon.
Up, so that's fantastic. Congratulations to you. You deserve that, except for all the sleepless nights. But, congratulations. I take nothing away from Amanda, but the rematch would be a great fight, and it would, it may end the same way.
Yeah,
it's not going to end in a knockout like it did in the speed that happened. But it could be Amanda ends up winning again. She's that good.
Yeah.
But it could be that, the second time around, someone fights differently. And when someone fights differently, the entire fight, is going to be different. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I look at it a couple ways. You're right. Cyborg, that tasted like vinegar coming out of my mouth. Is that Cyborg would fight a different fight.
Yes.
She fought with a ton of emotion the first fight because she knew it was her last fight on the contract. You're mentally not there. You guys got to understand the business side of it. Whether you think it has an effect on you or it doesn't, it does. Every single time it has an effect on you, especially when you have 1 foot out, 1 foot in. Fighting is not a 1 foot out, 1 foot in game. It's not a game at all. This is for real. You're getting hurt. You have to be all in or all out. And so in that scenario, she emotions going wild. The promotion's not saying one thing, and she wants to hear that from them. So,
yes, she wants to hear that you're worth what you're asking for. She's looking. People have no idea how hard it is to be that person. Mm-hmm. That you're actually putting a value on what you do, and you're saying, I believe that I should be paid this for my next contract or my next fight, whatever it is. And, that promotion is looking at you and saying, no, you're not worth that.
Yeah.
That's hard because it's a slap. They're telling you you're not worth something that you believe that you are. And from that moment, that's when things start, just building up in your head and you're trying to keep it away from the whole thing. And that's why fighters have managers to try to deal with that shit so they don't have to because they don't want to hear that crap. But it's what happens. And trust me, it affects a fighter. It affects their performance. And it's something that, you try to keep away from, but it happens. And, it definitely will alter your ability to give your best performance.
Yeah, you can't. you can't, it's hard to separate the business side and the fight side, the training side. You guys, there's so much stuff that goes on. People don't understand exactly how much stuff goes on. You're having to dispute sometimes with your coaches. Then sometimes you're having a problem with your manager. And not to mention, you got to turn around and you have a problem with whoever your promoter is and the organization and whatever. And then not to mention the fucking beef you have with whoever you're fighting. So and that's the person in there that's trying to knock your head off.
And sometimes it's not, your promoter's not trying to give you a problem.
No.
But your management is saying one thing because it becomes this telephone game where you're not hearing what's actually being said. It's being, repeated to you in a conversation, and all of a sudden they'll say it a certain way that it just is not the way it was meant to be, but it's the way they put it out and the way you interpreted it. And it just leads to bad things. Your
manager is the middleman. So he talks to the promotion talks to him, and then he turns around and relays it back to you. But the tone of voice can make a difference on how it was presented. So it's no different than if I tell Big John, podcast Dave's a jerk. Okay, but Big John's going to turn around and say, well, Josh said you're a fucking idiot. It's not the same thing, even though podcast Dave is both those. Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
We love him, man. Yes, he is. Don't lie to him like this. Please don't lie to him.
I'm moving to Tennessee, and you're going to be the one that FaceTimes in.
Yeah.
There you go.
See you later, baby. See
Dude, man, hey, you want to live for real?
Oh, jeez.
It's time to start moving.
Feed him to the alligators or whatever's out there. It's unfortunate. I was trying to make a way for the trade to happen so I could see that fight again. I just couldn't do it. There was no way of making it happen. And is there anything else that, since we were in this conversation, because we didn't talk about who our trades were.
Nope.
This is just us off the top of our heads. We talked about doing the top 5. Those were my top 5s. I wanted to see the one that I struggled with including, because I had a couple other ones that I really kind of wanted to do. But I put the Kerry and Grasso one in there just because I wanted to make sure I had a female fight that was in there, because I couldn't get the Amanda Nunes and Cyborg fight put together. I like the Kayla Harrison one, though, that you did, though. That was a good one, because I do want to see her come down. I want to see if she can make 45. I also want to see her fight either Cyborg, Julia Budd, or anybody else that we have. I'd like to see that happen as well. Yeah.
The one that I was trying to figure out a way to get, because I would love to see Gegard Mousasi versus Robert Whittaker.
I tried. Yep.
And I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I make that happen where it's fair? I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was trying. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So
I tried something similar, trying to get the Izzy and the Gegard fight, because Gegard's so good on the feet. I was trying to find there's like a limp ball. Anyways, squirrel.
Squirrel.
Just like Josh. They're in the middle of a conversation. Squirrel. Anyways, I was trying to get the Gegard and Izzy fight to happen somehow, some way, because Gegard's so good at getting people to fight at his pace. I just I just couldn't do it. I couldn't find a way to get it to work, and I was trying to make sure it was fair on both sides. So when people, because you and I have been catching a lot of flack lately over the Scott Coker comments and and I did the Amanda Nunes, and
because I said something that was the truth.
So I
worry about people hating that.
Yeah. The truth gets in the way sometimes. I wanted to try and make the trades as fair as possible. Those were the best ones that I could come up with right off the top of my head, given all the stuff that we'd been talking about for the last 2 days with the coronavirus. And it's like, look, I wanted to make sure I got a good list down of things that made sense for both sides. I did want to try to bring DJ over. I've said this already, but I just couldn't find a way to get him over here, because we don't have the division, and it's not fair to ask him to fight at 135.
That was my big thing was, okay, I can sit there and bring him to 35, but that's not fair to him.
Yeah.
He's fought at 35 before. I'm not saying he hasn't. And, guys like Sergio Diaz, what did I say? Sergio Diaz. Sergio Pettis has come over and decided on his own, I'm going to fight 135s in Bellator. And that's great. I love having him. I think he's phenomenal. But I never would want to force a fighter into another weight class. Yeah. They say that's not for me.
Yep.
So that's the only reason I didn't put him in there.
I did like the Juan Archuleta trade, because he can fight 35, 45, and 55. He's done all 3 of them. I think he's better. I think he's better at 145. That's probably his real natural weight class. But I could see him raising havoc in 135 at the UFC. I could see him doing it as long as he can keep his weight down, so he doesn't have to do a huge cut. 35 and 45, he can bounce around, but I could see him raising havoc at 135 over there. That'd be nice.
But who are you taking from the UFC if you give them Juan? Because I gave Juan to the PFL.
I take Jose Aldo, so then I can put him to 45 to fight Patricio.
Fight Patricio.
Yep.
Okay,
but then
I already traded him.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. You've already traded. But I was trying to figure out a way too to get Jose Aldo to fight Patricio, but without losing Patricio. That's the thing. I wanted to keep him.
I just looked at it and I thought, okay, if you're going to take a guy that has for a promotion done it all, just been there, and there were guys, Chuck Liddell was that for the UFC. Matt Hughes was that for the UFC. And I looked and I said, well, you want to talk about just a stalwart of the promotion. It's Patricio. And what does he want? Well, he's wanted to fight this guy and this guy forever. And so it's like, well, I'm in my fantasy world of the trade, I can make that happen. Yeah. So that was my whole reason for giving up the champ.
Yeah, I feel, here's the thing. People got to understand that he trains with Henry Cejudo. And so he knows how good he is based on what Henry has talked to him about the guys that he's fought, as well as he beat Marlon Moraes. He had a great performance against Marlon Moraes, and he knows that he can fight guys in that area. Now, Jose Aldo being there, I'd love to see that fight at 145, those guys. I didn't want to lose a whole lot of our 145-pound guys because our guys are really, really good. And I'd like to see our guy, I think I'd like to see our whole team, like, from Adam Boris, Darian Caldwell, that type of thing, that whole featherweight tournament match up against the whole featherweights list,
that would be good.
It'd be great to see. So, the other thing too.
Did you see the one thing you were talking about that Patricio trains with Henry?
Yes.
Both of them are coached by Eric.
Yes, Eric Albarracin. Yeah.
And did you see him go off on the media?
Oh gosh, man, yeah.
Oh yes. Man, he was on a tirade, baby.
He was hot.
Oh,
he was hot. Yeah, he showed us the video when we did the fighter meetings, and man, was he hot. Look,
come on, that was awesome.
He wasn't. He did say it, but in terms of that, he wasn't trying to put any of his guys down because he had said like, "Hey, Patricio is better than the other guys." I think in perspective of what he's talking about, what they've done, like Patricio is good. He knows Patricio can hang with anybody in the world. But look, what everyone needs to understand is this as well. When you get to the top echelon of guys, you're talking maybe a half a percentage point or a percentage point of a difference. And it really depends on how you show up that day, on who performs better in the cage that night. And I got to tell you, Usman and Colby Covington, when you saw those guys fight, they are, it depends on who had the better day that day. It really does.
You're talking about percentage points.
Yeah. Man. Like, I think it's like less than 1-2%.
Oh my God.
Those guys. Like,
you're talking halves of percentages.
Usman came in focused, determined, and just had a fucking great fight. Great game plan, great fight. And he won. But I wouldn't put money on the fact that Colby would luse the second one. I wouldn't, even though Usman looked great the first time, I wouldn't put money on that. And I also, to go back to it, I'd like to see Usman and T Wood do it again. Because T Wood, to me back then was not a focused T Wood. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a focused T Wood. And I'm not saying he can still beat him. I think that it becomes a closer fight than it was the first time. Because the first fight wasn't close. I didn't think it was close at all. And
because it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't close. So, but I think that you would get a different T Wood for that fight. I'm not saying he would beat him, but I'm saying it'd be a different fight. Usman's just good, man. He's just fucking really, really good.
He is.
And I like to see
athletic,
the guys
fast, strong, great wrestler. His stand-up is coming. It's come a long ways.
But he's extremely focused and determined on being the champion, staying the champion, and he's driven to be that person. And I love that. And I think, I tip my hat off to the guy that put this whole team together with Ali. And I'll butcher his last name, so I won't even try it. But everyone knows his manager, Ali. He does Khabib, Islam, and all the other, and Henry Cejudo. He manages all those guys. Look, those guys, they have something different. He's got a good group of guys that really mesh with what the focus is and what he is trying to groom those guys into being. And they all work really well together. I think they all feed off of each other's energy and how successful they all are. Good job. I tip my hat to him as a management company and as him as a manager. Now sometimes he's a little outspoken, which is kind of up my alley. But
you think?
But I mean, like when you talk in terms of the guys that he has, they're great guys. All the guys that he has are phenomenal guys. Look, if you guys are at home listening to this, you guys need to leave us who your dream matchups would be. Not matchups, trades. Tell us in the comment sections. Yeah.
Not matchups?
No,
who
trades.
Would you trade right now?
Yeah, who would you trade?
But it's got to be realistic. It's got to be fair.
Yeah, it's got to be real. It's got to be fair. It's all those things. There was one trade I was trying to work in there was Cain Velasquez. From the UFC to Bellator, I was trying to work the Cain Velasquez somewhere in there as well. I just didn't, like I said, I didn't know who to give up from our side because we've got good guys, but it just, some of them I have to sometimes maybe give up two. We don't have a lot of guys because our roster isn't that big. So it became this thing where I was pushing. I was like, all right, it's just not worth it.
It's also called heavyweights. No one's roster is that big.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not.
Exactly. What else was there? I put a list. I said something else, I think, on the list. There was something else I wanted to chat about.
Was it Khabib and Tony being?
Yes. So
Khabib and Tony,
I know, is far enough out for all this coronavirus stuff to be kind of put on the hold. At least hopefully we think it is. But his dad came out, and I had already heard this. I had heard it from some people when we were over in Connecticut. They said, there's a good chance they're probably going to move it to Dubai. And it was a good suggestion by Khabib's dad. There was buzz and talk about it in conversation already as well, that there was a chance of putting it there because they could build the arena. It would be obviously not a lot of people, just all sheiks. They would have, whatever it is, probably every fighter would be tested. The sheiks would take care of everything. Financially, it makes sense if you're going to put together a card, knowing that they would fund the fact that all those fighters would be tested, taken care of while they're all over there. I honestly, we were giving everybody a hard time. We were just open the show about the UFC doing their show in Brasilia, but they also didn't test any of the fighters when they were there. They just had them fight. They'll have to, I think they should test them all before they go. And then Dubai, with the financial backing that they have to make sure that all the fighters are tested, it makes sense. It does make sense.
If you want to say this fight is going to happen, like they have been saying, because Dana, he ended up having to cancel. He said, he was saying that the shows are going to go on, and everyone knew that's just really not feasible. And it's, not feasible, even if they, because they were talking about, people need to understand how many people it takes to actually run a fight.
Yep.
And you're talking about two doctors, got to have two doctors. And you're talking about a representative of the state or the tribal commission or whatever, at least having one of those. And then timekeeper and scorers, and then you have your inspectors that are coming in the cage, and then trainers for the fighters, and then judges and referee and cameramen. When you're talking about cameramen, you got someone with the cameraman that's a cable guy. It's just so many people, and it's hard to get past these numbers. And when they went to 10, you went, there's just no way. Yeah. It's impossible. You can't do it. And so it would really be in a place that says, hey, we can do testing, that we can make sure that nobody that goes in here has this, and we can do it safely. Hats off to them. Do it. Make that fight happen. The coronavirus cannot stop Khabib versus Ferguson.
Yeah,
I love it.
I just think that if you're going to talk about a location and a place to do it that financially has the backing to take care of the athletes, and whether they fight in front, and if you're talking it'll just all be sheiks.
Doesn't matter.
All making sure they're taken care of as well, and all been tested. They can bring in and fly in the best doctors, and they would want to see that fight probably more than anybody because of the backing of Khabib. Islam's on that card as well, and just the fight that's always supposed to have happened. Well, now it's going to happen, and that's the best place
when everything else isn't.
Yeah, and they're going to build their own. They're going to probably build an arena just specifically for that fight. Like they did for BJ and Frankie. They'll build it. Yeah,
dude. They trust me. They build, and it's a put up and a bring down arena, but they will put up a 12,000 seat arena in 1 week's time. Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah. Obviously look at Dubai. Look what they've done. It looks, it's fucking amazing. All right. What else? Was there anything else?
Not on your list.
No, that was it.
That's it.
Yeah. I thought
so. Next time, got to come up with something else.
Yeah. What was the next one we were talking about possibly doing?
We talked about greatest fights of all time.
Greatest fights of all time.
Yep.
I thought we had there was another one.
Did we have another one?
Yeah, I thought we had another one. Let me see what we can talk. Sorry, guys. When I'm on my phone during this, I'm actually talking to Podcast Dave because he's reminding me because I got CTE. So I'm trying to remember what we talked about, and then what I text him about what I thought was good to talk about during the show, and then. Yeah, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
So fucking rude, man.
Aren't you glad you can say CTE instead of pugilistia dementia?
Yes, I wouldn't be able to say that.
Because if you had to say chronic traumatic encephalopathy, you'd be in trouble.
What'd you say?
Exactly.
Josh can barely say the time. Never mind.
Let me see. Wait, where's John at? I'm looking for John. See, I got distracted. See, squirrel. I got distracted. Squirrel.
Cancelled events. Fighters not getting paid for London, and then Khabib
we
and
talked
Tony.
about that.
Yeah. That's all you put on.
Yeah, we're good.
Best MMA round.
I've already got that.
No, but me too, but we probably agree. So I think we need to have our top 5. We need to have our top 5 best MMA round.
Right.
Did you just look at that list to decide what you're going to do next time on the next podcast?
Yeah.
He did.
Oh my God, you're so lame.
I couldn't remember what it was. I didn't remember what the list was.
You're wasting 25,000 people's time.
So lame.
Or like 50,000.
By the way,
you
guys, all of you guys at home, thank you for subscribing. We broke the 25,000 mark. We did it in we did it in 8 months, 9 months.
But also like 20,000 a week on SoundCloud as well, or on audio as well. So
20,000 a week. Very nice. Very nice.
Go.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. We thank you guys. Is there anything else you want to say?
In this virus-filled environment, we appreciate your listening.
Virus-filled. I like it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna try to drop some shows. I know you guys are all just sitting home, thinking around on your computer, looking at porn. Okay, but
so then let's do it. Let's do a question and answer then. That way they get what they want. Let's do it.
While you guys are all at home, let's do Q&As. But don't forget, please leave your dream trades in the comments.
Dude, you're starting to do this stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm connecting my 2 viruses.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Do your dream trades in the comment section. John and I will go through the comment section as well, and we'll talk about those trades. See who's got the best ones, and we'll talk about those as well. And then we'll have Dave put out a Q&A probably maybe tomorrow, and we'll try and drop another show sometime this week. We'll answer some of those Q&As. And
give you something to listen to.
We'll put together our next list of probably the best first round or our best rounds. I think best rounds in MMA history. We'll put together those. So I think those will.
How about worst fights? There was just one. I think. Never mind.
What a guy. See, now that's you. That's you just poking at the
worst title fights. How's that?
Ooh. Well,
I can already think of all of them.
Oh, wow. You got a long history of watching them all. Some probably like in countries we don't even know of.
Up close.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button, thumbs up as well. That'll share our videos to everybody else. Follow us on SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all the platforms. Hit the subscribe button, okay? Don't just hit it on YouTube. Hit it everywhere you possibly can and get notifications from us when we upload videos. We're going to try to stay as active as possible for this next couple of weeks. But just remember, since there's no fights, we don't have a whole lot to talk about, so we're going to make this up on the fly. All right, we're going to go and do the best we can, and keep you guys as entertained as possible, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Big John, you got anything else?
That's good, man. Let's go. Next time.
At John McCarthy MMA, at The Real Punk, at Podcast Dave. We want to thank you guys for subscribing. Okay, share our videos. Thank you.